Ha ha! Hey, what is going on, crypto people? Listen, if your bridge holding your wrapped XRP blew up, if the bridge blew up tonight, would you get your coins back? Wrapped XRP on Ethereum depends on a custodian multi-sig. FXRP on Flare networks doesn't. Your XRP is locked. Your XRP lock is on chain, verified by Flare's state connector or Flare's state data connector. No trusted middleman. And here's the kicker. Once you mint FXRP, you can stake it in Firelight, earn yield, get liquid STXRP, and still stay exposed to XRP. Tonight, we'll break down the mechanics, the risk, and exactly how to move from wrap XRP to FXRP so you control the collateral and the yield. Let's get into it. Happy freaking Monday to each and every one of you. Man, I got to tell you, what an exciting time to be an early adopter in this new asset class that is a digital asset space. This live stream is a little tricky right now. Let me refresh this. Make sure everything is good. I mean, listen, the market is doing what the market does. Bitcoin's 117, 118. XRP is going cray cray in the streets right now. XRP is going crazy in the streets. You got big time traders, kind of like Cameron Faust and Virtual Bacon, getting some of that XRP. It's an interesting time, for sure, in the digital asset space. It's an interesting time. Time for me, time to take a little of that BTC, rotate it into, one, two of these layer ones. We got to see which one though. Don't know which one yet. Don't know which one yet. Little rotation, take advantage of the extra multiples in the layer ones. Not financial advice, just thinking out loud on what possibly could be. So this live stream was inspired by a young lady on X. Did a post. I'm going to share that with you guys as well. That was a pretty really really good post. I gotta tell you, it's a really really good post. So we get that's this live stream is kind of around that post for sure. Uh, Interesting news coming out of the GOP on accredited investor. I'm afraid to say or ask or mention anything about accredited investor because I might be promoting something just asking a question. Like my question is that going to be tiered accredited investors? Is it going to mean a tier now? Right? Because if you got the accredited investor with this money thing, and now they got this proposal that passed the House, JR, about an exam that people can take to become a accredited investor administered by FINRA. Is there going to be some kind of tier to this private market? But the other thing I'm wondering is, isn't it interesting that this bill out of nowhere gets proposed in the House for changing the accredited investor and giving access to the private market, which I'm excited about, but it kind of seems very coincidental with Larry Fink and BlackRock talking about, I think these people with these 401ks and TSPs should have access to the private markets. Isn't that an interesting coincidence? But in any case, we're going to get into it. No need to go to market, I don't think. I mean, if you want to see XRP's price at $3.60 something cents again, I mean, we could go with the market. But it is, JR, my friend, it is doing what the market does. It's just kind of doing what it does there. Let me appreciate you guys checking in. Do me a favor, hit the like button on the way in. That'd be really, really awesome. We love to have just as many likes as we have viewers in the stream. Listen, Wrapped XRP and FXRP, they're not the same animals. They're different. We're going to get into that. A lot of people that they're beginning to realize that there's a big difference between this wrapped XRP and FXRP. It's different. The mechanisms are different. Trust minimized. That's a big statement. We're going to go over that. So people, like a lot of people, are not understanding, like they're missing the risk in these bridges and wrapped versions of any asset. They're missing the risk there. And Flare has solved for that in a big time way. And it's people, it's it's got to understand. It's time for people to understand what the difference is for sure. So hopefully this post will help. Appreciate you guys hitting that like button. That is awesome, awesome, awesome of you to do that. Where's the post? There it is. We're gonna go with this uh, post here from this lady, young lady. Um, I forgot to get her name, but we'll see it here in a second. On X, it is Marilyn. Maryland. Look, it's JR. Have you been noticing a lot of people posting about Flare networks lately? I have. I went through a course that was speaking to that next 40, 50, 60x, how it looks, that token, how it looks, how it kind of comes along, churns along. And from my recollection of that course, this blockchain, this project is checking all the boxes to a potential massive thing. And I don't know if it's this cycle. It may be next cycle, but it's checking the boxes for sure. All right. So Marilyn here, interesting little background here. Appreciate you, Marilyn. DeFi content writer. Is this the hmm, this she looks like the girl from what was that DeFi thing? It was a guy and a girl. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, DeFi writer, 7 years in Web3. She says here from Big Connect to here. How about that? Interesting. All right. So Marilyn posts here, FXRP versus wrapped XRP. Why verification is greater than wrapping. Both FXRP on Flare networks and WXRP, wrapped XRP on Ethereum represent XRP on another chain, but their underlying working mechanisms are vastly different. Wrapped XRP, WXRP, is custodial and centralized. It's custodial and centralized. How it works? You send XRP to a bridge. The bridge custodian mints wrapped XRP 1-to-1 on Ethereum. You understand? You're giving up the custody of that XRP. You use the wrapped XRP in DeFi and redeem later if all goes well. Like a lot of people don't understand it when they do the bridging and right? You check the history of the hacks and the loss of funds by way of bridges. It's massive. Flare Networks just figured out a better way, right? So it's time for people to kind of level up and understand the difference with the bridging, the risk, inherent risk there in bridging in these wrapped versions of assets that are hugely popular. Wrapped assets are wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped Ethereum, hugely popular. That's why they're attack vectors. All right, in the background, in the wrapped custodial and centralized versions, a multi-sig wallet holds your XRP. The bridge custodian controls issuance and redemption. That's not exactly trustless. If the bridge fails, you may lose access to your XRP. Risk? Custodial single point of failure. You rely on the bridge's integrity. In the FXRP version, Flare FXRP, trust minimized and verifiable via Flare Network's state connector. Did I say data connector? State connector. All right. How FXRP works. How it works. You lock your XRP on the XRP ledger. It stays on the ledger. Flare's state connector verifies that the XRP is on the chain. Verifies it. It verifies the lock of the XRP. Then FXRP is minted 1-to-1 on Flare, right? So the XRP is staying on the ledger, right? It's locked. And Flare's mechanism verified this. And then they mint FXRP 1-to-1 on Flare networks. And anytime you can burn that FXRP, anytime to redeem your XRP from the lock. Key point, says Marilyn. No trusted custodian, only deterministic consensus verified data. Big, big difference. FXRP and DeFi, you can yield without leaving XRP exposure. Stake FXRP and Firelights to earn yield, which I tell you what I'm doing with my XRP, not financial advice. Please don't do what I do. Receive STXRP, which is a liquid staking token, and then use the STXRP across Flare's DeFi ecosystem, DEXs and lending, liquidity pools, and more. Okay, here's a great picture, JR, to kind of get a good look at what it is. Wrapped version is custodial risk or custodial logic. You send your XRP to a bridge. You see here the bridge person with the person here, right? It's a person. Bridge custodial mints wrapped XRP tokens. Wrapped XRP can be used in DeFi. And the Flare Networks ecosystem and the Flare mechanism, it works differently. Non-custodial, proof-based. Lock XRP on the XRP ledger. It's a big difference. Flare State Connector verifies the lock, right? And then mint FXRP on Flare Networks, and you can go participate in DeFi on Flare Networks. Utility usage of the asset is massive. And I'm telling you, JR, institutions are waiting, are just chomping at the bits to be able to do some things. They love the idea of trust minimized. They love they get these risk in these bridges. They have the data. They understand the risk a lot better, unfortunately, than retail does. They understand the differences. They understand the risk. And I'm telling you, this is why they're running. They're running to Flare Network. I'm telling you, they're running. They're waiting in line. I'm, I'm telling you, for the things they're going to want to do with that XRP, right? You know, you know, the XRPL EVM sidechain is better than nothing. It's better than what we as XRP holders have had, but it is not better than FXRP and what Flynn Networks is bringing to XRP holders. It's not better. It's the XRPL EVM sidechain is better than what the XRPL can currently do for XRP holders. Okay. But Flynn Networks is beyond the XRPL EVM sidechain. It's just is. It just is. It's just, it brings more value to the XRP holder. It just does. It brings more value. It brings more value. Trust minimized is a big deal. Non-custodial versus custodial is a big deal. You would think that XRP holders who love the, grab that XRP and the death grip on their hardware wallets would be excited about Flare Networks. And the main thing is they just don't understand. For some reason, they keep thinking it's a competition, that there's some competition there. And they just realize that it's not a competition, it's a complement. They're bringing value to you as an XRP holder. This is why I talk about them so much. And do I have a bunch of FLR tokens? Yes, I do. And Songbird. And I still got a bunch coming to me from Celsius Tobacco Network. So yes, I do. course. What's going on, Barbie? How are you? Hey, CJ, excellent info. Thanks for getting it out there, man. You're welcome, my friend. I appreciate you supporting the channel as always. JR says, yes, Flair is making a comeback. Yeah, yeah. I seen it's up to 2 cents or something, huh? That's cool. Louis Marriott. Any relations? Any relations, bro? Flair is popping right now. I guess it is. I guess it is. I haven't checked, but I guess it is. Look, this is a big time difference, and it's really, really big to understand. I hope that you guys got a chance. Let me know. Did you get a chance to join the wait list? Did you get a chance to join the wait list for Firelight Pie? Did you get a chance to hit that wait list? Barbara, did you make the top 3,000? Let me know in the comments here if you did. Lewis says, unfortunately, no relations. That's right, man. You got the digital asset space now, bro, and you got DeFi. It's all good. You'll make your own fortunes. You'll create your own generational wealth here in this new financial system. New financial system. XRP 5 on Flint Networks is it going to be a game changer for retail and institutions. I can feel it in everything in me. It's going to be a game changer. I don't know. I don't think I have enough FLR. I really don't think I have enough. I really don't think I have enough. Really don't. I feel like I need to set a mark for how many I want to have, like I did with XRP. I feel like I need to go on a 12 to 14, 16 month buying spree of 4 figures every month, like I did with XRP. I feel like I need to do that with the FLR token. I really, really do. I'm kind of waiting for V1.1 and see how it goes, see how the flywheel works and stuff like that before I do. But I'm really, really feeling like that. I really am. Rick Cisneros checked in. What's going on, brother? How are you? CJ, that's why we are early to Flare. We understand the long-term value before the masses see. We will be rewarded and just need patience, and you need to level up. Indeed, and you need to level up for sure. You got to learn. You got to know what it is that you hold. It's not enough to be just running on CoinGecko and checking the price. That's not it, man. Or listen to YouTubers like myself. That's not enough. I left a link for the latest Flare Networks community call. How many times have you listened to that? I've listened to it at least 3 times. They got another spaces coming up Wednesday, 9 a.m. Central. I'll put the link into that one for you as well. This is part of doing your due diligence, fam. This is part of becoming a sophisticated investor. You got to put the time in. You have to know that you know that you know what you hold. It's a conviction. When you put the work in to build up your conviction, you'll know the level of what kind of gem it is. Every gem has different levels to it. And NVIDIA was not NVIDIA for decades. For decades. And then it became a $4 trillion monster. Like, that's cray-cray to me. What's going on, brother crypto? What's the word? Flare Networks, my friend. XRP5. I put that on Flare Networks. You understand? So you got to put the work in. That's part of doing your due diligence. That's right. That shows you're a sophisticated investor. I'm not saying you got to become a developer. My land. I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. But you got to know the difference, for example, between wrapped XRP and FXRP on Flare Networks. It's important to know. You got to be able to explain it to someone as well. Can you share the challenges in bridging in the digital asset space and the hacks that have come as a result of some kind of faulty mechanisms in these bridging or bridges? If you've been around since 2016, like myself, I mean, it was just one after another, after another, after another. And Flare Networks figured out a different way, in fact, a very, very novel way to solve for it. And let us not forget, Flare Networks is a layer one EVM blockchain in their own lane with data. They remember when ChatGPT said Flare Networks had to win. They had to win the what do I want to say? They had to win the I don't want to say sales, but they had to win in sharing their narrative that data is the new oil. Right? They have to go out and win that narrative, show the value, prove the narrative out. That's what they have to do. And that's what people like myself and others are going to be helping them do. Right? You got to get it out there. Right? Barbie says, I posted this on my X too. Awesome. Right? You understand that? That's everything. You know, when BlackRock goes around and starts doing his thing, and not BlackRock, but Larry Fink starts going out there and doing his thing, what do you think he's doing? He's out pushing the narrative. He's out pushing a narrative that benefits his shareholders with some new product that they're going to come out with. You understand? That's what he's doing. And that's what he's done. That's that's what you do. Right? And that's what, collectively we get a chance to do that. If you believe, and it's not shilling the token. It's 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 sharing the narrative. If you believe that. Developers know the value in data. They know the value in data. What has happened since the inception of the digital asset space is projects have put the value of that data, they put it down here, and they put the dollar wins on, you know, inferior products in that mindset of just let's just get this product out and just ka-ching. That's what's happened. Project after project after project. They just want to get a thing out so that they can win. In other words, it's just not so many great products, blockchains, layer ones, layer twos, doesn't matter. D apps doesn't matter. Not so great. Not so great. They didn't put extra value on the product. And one of them is obviously is data for sure. And obviously bridging is another one. That's why Flare Networks had the couple of remember the bridge thing that they had? Right? Remember the bridge thing that they were going to bring out? So it's important to understand that. And Flare is they're going to focus on a thing and they're going to, in my view, with our help, really, I mean, really drive home this value in data, and data is the new oil. I mean, they're going to want to really bring it home. And I'm excited to help them do it. I really, really am excited to help them do it. Rick Cisnell says, CJ, I'm going to say it again with trustless oracles on Flare. You can chain abstract. Yeah. And Hugo talks about chain abstraction all the time. You can chain abstract value. Therefore, in the future, you can abstract value from stocks and real estate and put them into DeFi products 100%. And then in addition to that, when we start getting into the verifiable AI stuff that we're going to get into with the trusted execution environments and these protocol managed, look, it's a next level thing. It's a next level blockchain. That's why I say it all the time. Flare Networks is becoming the promise of what Ethereum hoped to be. That's how I see it. But don't run on my conviction. Build your own. Build your own conviction. Do the homework, get in the spaces, go to read, go to Flare.networks and learn. You don't, again, you don't have to become a developer, just learn. Use AI to help you in learning the differences, right? It's important. It really, really is important. So shout out to Marilyn. That was a really, really good write up that she did there. But I feel like she's that young lady that I see on YouTube sometimes. I feel like that's her. But anyway, I'm not sure. But I do think that's her. So that's the difference. That's one of the difference. It's one of the differences that Flare Network is bringing to the table. Brother Crypto says wrapped XRP on Coinbase just sounds nasty, bro. FXRP for sure. Yes, sir. Indeed. Indeed. So, hey, Rick, have you seen this latest from apparently the House GOP or something about accredited investor change? I find it to be interesting. I'm pretty sure I just recently saw an interview. I'm trying to find it with Larry Fink of BlackRock. Just out of nowhere, he just happens to mention, I really kind of think it's time for the everyday average Joe who has a TSP and a 401k and some other type of retirement. I really do think it's time for them to get access to the private market. I just feel like it's just kind of time. I mean, they're deserving. It's just interesting. I'm gonna try to find an interview. Larry Fink discussing private markets and retirement plans. March 31st, 2025. Let me share this real quick and then I'm gonna share this post. BlackRock's Larry Fink he vows to unlock private markets. Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, has been a vocal proponent of integrating private market investment into retirement accounts, including 401k plans. He argues that this approach could help address the growing retirement savings crisis and provide individuals with access to potentially higher returns and better diversification traditionally enjoyed by institutional investors like pension funds. Here's a breakdown of his key arguments and proposals. This is Google AI, I guess. Democratizing access to private market. Fink believes that private markets, which include investments in private equity, private credit, infrastructure, and real estate, have historically been locked behind high walls, accessible only to the wealthy and institutional players. He argues that by democratizing access, everyday investors can participate in economic growth and enhance their retirement outcomes. How many people think that BlackRock are waiting to put a product together so they can offer it to the masses? Or how many of you, like myself, think that they already built that product out? They're just going on the narrative thing now. They're just going on the narrative tour to push this. Right? Now let me find uh oh, before I do that, I meant to say this just real quick. Firelight, here's Firelight right here. Kind of giving you a quick guide in participating in phase one. Get you some FXRP, stake FXRP in the launch vault, and earn Firelight points. Receive STXRP for use across the DeFi. Burn STXT to redeem your FXRP back. So it has some questions here. Firelight, nice job. What does this launch vault do with the FXRP? Great question. The initial launch vault accepts FXRP as the deposited asset and issues STXRP as the liquid staking token. The initial exchange rate is set at 1-to-1. The vault system implements the ERC 4626 standard, ensuring compatibility and composability with DeFi protocols across the Flare ecosystem. Every vault maintains full reserve backing, guaranteeing a 1-to-1 correspondence between FXRP locked and ST staked XRP or liquid staked XRP issued. Thanks for checking. If you managed to sign up, are you officially okay? Thanks for this. We'll keep you posted. Someone's trying to get their butt in or trying to get Firelight to extend or do a new wait list. I don't think they're gonna do that. Another question. Is there any potential loss of original XRP? Okay. You have custody over your FXRP, a tokenized version of XRP built on Flare to enable its use in decentralized finance and smart contract applications. Okay. Remember, the XRP gets locked. It's on the ledger, and it's just a verifiable. The Flare state connector verifies the XRP and then mints FXRP. Right. See any other questions that people ask? Someone asked if this is going to work with Xamin or Bifrost. Firelight answers, any EVM compatible wallet will support Flare. Just make sure to set the right configuration for Flare mainnet. All right. Joshua asked a question I'm trying to figure out here. If I stake my FXRP and receive STXRP, is there a possibility of the I remember I read this before about a kind of decoupling in price. To answer it here, the value of XRP is intended to mirror that of FXRP. However, this peg is maintained by market forces through liquidity pools on dexes in times of extreme market volatility, or if there's inefficient liquidity, the price of XRP could trade at a discount premium to FXRP. There are mechanisms in place to manage liquidity, so it's rather unlikely to occur. As you have the flexibility to choose when to stake, you can mitigate the risk entirely. Thanks for the question. It's a great question. All right, so they took some time to answer some questions there. So let me share this very, very interesting post from Congress today about a bill that they submitted for accredited investors. See if I can find it. Here it is right here. This is Mike Flood. Okay. I just think it's pretty funny. All right. So the Equal Opportunity for All Investors Act. The Equal Opportunity for All Investors Act of 2025 would expand the accredited investor definition. My thing is, why do we have it? Why do we even have accredited investor in the first place? But anyhow, I digress. Would expand the accredited investor definition to include individuals that are certified through an exam written by the SEC. Wealth alone is not a strong judge for those wanting to be an investor or not. This will expand opportunity into our capital markets. Remember, in March, Larry Fink was, he was doing the narrative tour saying, I just feel like it's time for these everyday folks to be able to get some of this private marketing stuff by private market stuff, right? Get access to that. I think it's time. It's been time. It's accredited investors is a joke. Let's take a listen here, and then I'm going to share some more thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Hold on. Thank you, Mr. Hold on. Let me stop the share. Let's do the share with the sound so you guys can hear. All right. Hopefully it's not too loud. Oh, that is loud. All right.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Speaker from Nebraska. I'd like to thank Chairman Hill and Ranking Member Waters for their support. I'd also like to thank my co-lead on this bill, Congressman Cleo Fields, for all of his work. The Equal Opportunity for All Investors Act would expand the accredited investor definition to include individuals that are certified through an exam written by the SEC and administered by FINRA. Accredited investors are individuals that are allowed to participate in investment opportunities that are not generally available to the broader public, like private offerings. Most current pathways to becoming an accredited investor are based on your balance sheet, your wealth, your income. This bill opens up a brand new pathway for allowing investors' knowledge to be the determining factor in whether they are able to become an accredited investor. In my view, wealth alone is not a particularly strong judge of whether someone should be, quote unquote, an accredited investor or not. A better one is whether someone has the knowledge to accurately weigh the benefits and risks of private offerings. In 2020, the SEC started allowing professional investors with credentials like a Series 65 or a Series 7 to become accredited investors. This was a very helpful step forward, but licensing requirements for brokers and investment advisors go beyond what is needed to properly weigh the risks of private offerings for an individual's personal finances. Following the principle that merit, not just wealth, should guide who can become an accredited investor, an exam specifically written to determine the sophistication of investors is a natural next step. The exam created by this bill is meant to strike the right balance between rigorously testing for sophistication and not being set to touch such a difficult standard that even an intelligent investor could not pass it. This bill is a common sense, bipartisan product that will expand opportunity in our capital markets. I urge my colleagues to support the bill, thank the chairman, and yield back.
So there's that. Look, I'm all for it. I think it's well past overdue, way past due and the whole 9 yards. We talk about the whole accredited investor thing for a while now on this channel. It's ridiculous. It was just a way to separate the masses. That's all they had to be able to sell to someone. Okay. So yes, the whole Series 65 thing, that was a great first step. But if you weren't a professional already, you had to study these all different exams and study and try to get, and then even after you studied it, it was all these other hurdles to still, just kind of get that accredited investor thing. So, this is another step for that. But let me tell you something. If you don't think that Larry Fink and BlackRock didn't, isn't the reason for this, that bill being in the House, you don't understand. Remember that BlackRock is the fourth branch of the United States government. Just understand that. If you understand that, you'll understand why this whole narrative was going on. Let me see something here. Let me see if we have him talking. March. This is March 2024. Let's take a listen here real quick.
It's a bit of a different, I think, letter from what you've done before. Personal. Starts with your parents, right, and they're saving for retirement, and includes your grandkids as well. Yes. The retirement crisis. Give us your diagnosis of that problem right now.
Well, it's something I've been writing about for
something I've been writing about for years. Okay. I'll give them that. Let me share.
for years, but I emphasize it in this letter. And, all my letters have been based on some long-term issues. And let me be really truthful about my letters. My letters are a reflection of my conversation with clients. So it is, and so over the past year, I heard more and more conversation about retirement, the retirement crisis, from many parts of the world, from middle-class developing countries to developed countries. The acute problem here in the United States is that we have still 57 million Americans who don't have any savings or any retirement plan. Social Security is a fantastic foundation for retirement, but if that's all you have when you retire, you're going to be living in poverty, below the poverty line, because it just is not, it's supplemental, but it's not meant to be the totality of what you have in a retirement. And the whole concept of we're aging. We're all living longer. And I think one of the big narratives I've had to reflect in 2023 was the miracles of medicine. When we talk about the drugs like Ozempic and all the different weight loss drugs, how that is extending life. It's conquering kidney disease and liver disease and heart disease and joint disease. And then there are new medicines now for dementia that extends life. So if you think about the miracles of technology and how it transforms our lives and extends our life, there is not a dialogue in America or most places about, can we afford that longevity? And our entire retirement system was based on statistics that were created 50 years ago, whereby most Americans retired between 60 and 62 then, but most Americans then passed away at 67. And today, statistically, a couple 60 years old in good health, one of them is going to live over 90. And so the other question is, should we reevaluate how we work and how long we work? Because we all need purpose in life. And in most people find purpose, obviously, maybe with their grandchildren, their children, their community. Many people find purpose in their jobs. And the thought of retiring at 60 with 30 more years or a 30-year life in front of you, we need to have a dialogue. We need to have a conversation. And, I'm an optimist. I am very optimistic about the long-term vitality of our markets. I'm bullish on capitalism. The reason why I'm bullish is that when I read the newspapers every morning and listen to Bloomberg and other news organizations, it's full of scary things. We talk about the problems. We talk about all the problems in life. But we solve problems through conversation. And the one area where we have no conversation is the affordability of retirement and the whole concept of retirement. And we need to start a global and, most importantly, a national dialogue.
So in your letter, you have a very powerful, I think, diagnosis of the problem, not just the United States, but globally.
Yes.
We're living longer. We need more money, therefore, to live. At the same time, there's also a bit of a pan there to capitalism, and particularly capital markets, and the extraordinary things they've done, what they can do. Connect the two of those up. Could we use the capital markets to address at least some of the problem we're talking about? And let me be very specific. Social Security, you mentioned, is really in trouble. Should we be taking the Social Security Trust Fund, what's left of it, and put it into capital markets?
We need to put it in a long-term investment. I mean, we have a system of pay-as-you-go. Okay, there are other countries like Australia that have a whole unique system whereby you're contributing. But right now in Congress, there are a number of senators and congressmen are talking about rehabilitating our Social Security pool and maybe contributing a big block of money into it so it has sufficiency. But to me, as I said, Social Security is just a foundation of retirement. We need to really educate our citizens about the need for savings. We see worldwide, most people who are really thrifty, they keep most of their money in a bank account. Like in Japan, there's a high savings rate of 18%. Most of that is in a bank account. In Europe, there's a high savings rate of 15-ish%. Most of that's in a bank account. That is not going to provide you the adequacy of the compounding of what capital markets can do. But probably one of the big conversations I've had with so many political leaders is the connection of retirement and the capital markets. When you think about the vitality of the U.S. capital markets, so much it's based on the long-term money of pension funds of our, whether it's a defined benefit plan or a defined contribution plan. And Americans are more optimistic, and so we have a higher investment in equities beyond any other society. And so in my conversation with many political leaders, as they think about retirement, and Japan is a great example, the Kishida government just this past October raised the amount of tax deductibility to put in your 401k. They doubled the size. And it's not a coincidence that the Japanese equity market since October is up 30%. And it's because we're seeing more and more money that is going into the long-term capital markets. So not only does it give financial returns for those who are retiring and saving for retirement, but it's a big foundation for domestic companies to have local investing in your own companies. If you look at the United States, our equity markets generally trade at a 2 to 3 PE ratio higher than any place in the world. Mm-hmm. Now, you could argue we have better companies than any place in the world, but you could also have to attribute this to that we have a larger retirement system in terms of what we invest in. Now, that doesn't mean we need more. We need more money for more people to be putting it into their system.
Take it a step further, because something you're very involved in at BlackRock is alternative investments.
Yes.
The private markets,
yes.
Credit, debt, things like that. Should we be changing the rules so we can put our 401ks or our IRAs into private markets?
I believe there are some great areas of private markets that are going to be great investments for retirement. And I would channel that more towards infrastructure, because infrastructure has a long maturity, it has a higher coupon, but it has a lower profile of returns than what I would say other areas of the private markets. So it has a good corridor of returns, but higher probabilities of meeting those returns. And so, yes, we need to be re-looking at how we think about investing, whether that is going to be in private equity or infrastructure. I do believe, we need to be putting more long-dated assets into retirement, and so that you could meet the returns that you need to have the pool of money that you require during retirement.
The private markets, right? So that was just one of those, right? Just one. What's going on, Austin? Austin Gray, how are you? What's going on? Aaron, not quite yet. Aaron gotta wait for them to launch up assets. Oh, Aaron Medina's checked in. What's going on, Aaron? How are you, bro? Austin Gray, I think we got into the interview for Flare to be at price worth selling. Yeah. Yeah. Aaron Medina says, can I earn yield on the buy first wallet yet with XRP? Nope, not yet, bro. Not yet. Rupert checked in. What's going on, Rupert? Rupert says, FLR pump stream. Is that right? Breakout imminent. Let's go. What up, CJ? What up with you, Rupert? All is good. Austin says, I think that means, is there a date on FSA? No date yet. No date. No date. I would start, definitely getting on the spaces. Let me find, all right, so let me go back to this. So Larry Fink, just going around with the narrative for private markets, got a bill introduced to change the accredited investor to give people access to the private capital markets, right? Right? Introduced today, the bill passed in the House, okay? Like no yin and yang, no arguing, and no, people they need protection, and we got to protect people. None of that protection stuff. I'm happy it passed. HR 3339, the Equal Opportunity for All Investors Act of 2025, passed by voice vote. I don't know what that means, but at least it passed, and it's going to get in because I think BlackRock want it to happen. So it's going to happen for sure, without question. And I think it's awesome. Access is everything. I think it's important. And then people got to become savvy about what they do with their money. Right? They got to become savvy about what they do with their money. But yeah, it did pass. It did pass. Let me get you guys the link for the spaces it's coming up Wednesday. Here it is right here. Firelight, the future of DeFi is unfolding and XRP is leading the charge. Join us Wednesday at 4 p.m. UTC, which is 9 o'clock a.m. Central on Wednesday. Join us Wednesday, Centura HQ and Flare Networks as we unveil Firelight's blueprint and chart the course for XRP5. So let me get this link. If you have this, just remember to tune in, and it's going to be available for you guys. Yep. So there it is, fam. Guys, I appreciate you checking in. Again, shout out to Marilyn for this post. I just got to tell you, it was awesome. This thing was good. And again, another way, I told Hugo on the Spaces not too long ago. I said, Hugo, you need to build, you need to put together the choir to take the message to the congregation. And they're working on that. They're working on that, and they just did the kind of like the community grant thing. Yeah, it's going to be for builders and community content creators. Um, and this grant is going to be in helping to take the message out to the world about what Affiliate Networks is, right? And it ain't going to be about a price thing, and it's not going to. It ain't gonna be about that. It's gonna be about, right, the Flare Networks, this next level EVM blockchain that is becoming the promise of what Ethereum hoped to be. Right. We're gonna be speaking about the novel ideas of this blockchain and the problems that they're solving. Um, so yeah, they're on that path. Flare Networks is on that path of putting together the choir to take the message to the congregation. So it's pretty cool. It is a really good deal. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you didn't do so on the way in, that'd be awesome. If you could do it now, just collapse the chat real quick. Go smash that like button, then come back and hang out with the CryptoCeej and fam. Again, it is, price is, I get it. People are excited about the price. Previous all-time high, I think at one time was 15 cents. To me, the values in the protocol, we got enshrined protocols, right? Enshrined on this layer one, I think is important with the FTSO, the FTC. I think these things are massively important, native to the blockchain. Some people say native. Flare says enshrined in the protocol, right? At the layer one level, these things are important. This is, again, I know a lot of people don't think it or forget it sometimes, but Flare Networks is a layer one EVM blockchain. Okay, it's layer one, and it has novel mechanisms to it that are just different. I think it's genius in motion, and they're working on, the narrative and getting that message out of the data's the new oil. I think it's important. You throw in TEEs and you throw in protocol managed wallets and you throw in verifiable AI, right? But it's getting the message out time. It's getting the message out, and I love what they're doing with this community grant thing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out, how it plays out. In either case, in either way, I'm going to be continue to provide content and continue to do my part to share this message, because I do think it's what the space needs. More important than all the people wanting to improve their bags and increase the size of the bags. I get it, but this is what the digital asset base needs, in my opinion. A project that is committed to true decentralization, true security, and true scalability. That just, that just has, some higher priorities than One Moon. I think that's important, to rid themselves of these, taking the shortcuts that other projects tend to want to do. If we're going to have a new financial system, we got to do things the right way. And I think Flare Networks and Hugo and the team is that team that are doing it. And we're blessed as XRP holders, for sure, that they went down this road of providing utility to these non-smart contract chains and their assets. And they pick, they chose this one first, and why wouldn't they? Right, it's the largest market cap for sure, and it has a outstanding community, one that is engaging and here every day, shows up every single day. This is going to be important. Now it's up to us to help to educate and bring more of the XRP holders on to understand what Flare Networks is bringing to XRP holders. It's important. And, the XOPL is going to go on its own journey. right? And they got their thing there, and they're going to be going on their own journey, and they got a plan for that XRP out. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the XRP holder falls in terms of priority there. I'm sure it's on the list. I'm not sure if it's number one. So, but in any case, XRP holders, okay, being able to use that asset, being able to participate in DeFi, being able to be a lender and a borrower if you choose to, being able to create cash flow, these kind of different things, not having to be dependent upon wind moon only. Okay, these things are important. And Pro Networks is bringing that to XRP holders. And will you have to, will you get a chance to learn more about DeFi? Sure, you'll get a chance to do so. It's important, right? It's hugely important. I've been in a lot of traditional financial spaces here the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm just going to tell you, it ain't the answer. It's just not, right? We have the answer here, and we gotta rid ourselves of that TradFi thing. And one of the more important things we gotta figure out is people got crazy debt and been hoodwinked and bamboozled into some stuff that they can't get out of, whether it be credit card debt, mortgage debt, personal loans, um, car loans, these kind of things. And there's a hoodwink and bamboozle that like you don't know. Like they're not telling you, right? When you discover the real interest that you're paying with a credit card, um, it's gonna knock you off your feet. When you discover the real interest that you're paying on your mortgage, it's gonna knock you back. It's gonna knock you back. It really is. It is it's tough to hear and see it. But when you do, then you can begin to make the changes that you need to. And I know a lot of people here um, in the digital asset space because of things like those debts, right? Um, and that's awesome, for sure. But first, got to get educated about what you're really paying. And once you understand that, then you have to have a plan to get rid of that crazy stuff that you're paying. And then you can have the option of taking the new financial system and its assets and holding on to it and leveraging it as opposed to putting it back in a financial system that is constantly hoodwinking and bamboozling people constantly. And I know for a fact that a lot of people here in this space and on this live stream, they're going to take Wind Moon bags and get another mortgage. They're going to take Wind Moon bags and get investment properties. And those things are awesome. But if you don't know how to beat the enemy that's underneath those things, you're going to just be right back in debt. You're going to be right back in the interest tsunami that you can't see. It's an interest tsunami, and people are just not aware of it. JP Morgan knows about it. Central banks know about it. But the average person is not aware of it. Student loans, like people think that the reason for student loans was just someone just trying to be nice. No. If you understand the real interest behind student loans, the real interest, uh, if you understand the real interest behind SBA loans, remember when you stuck your chest out and you were like, oh yeah, I got the SBA, man, 3%, baby. Remember that? Yeah, there's an enemy behind it. And and once you find out and you learn about it, it's gonna knock you off your feet. I'm telling you. Can't wait to share more of it with you guys. Austin Gray says, preach, CJ. FOR is the new XRP. Austin Gray says, on the mortgage, you buy one house and pay for, like, people just don't understand, man. Oh, good night, JR. Appreciate you checking in, bro. Appreciate you checking in for sure. So once you learn it, that's cool. Then you can, but you got to learn it. Got to figure out to tackle it. For me, I've been just thinking about how many people are going to take their valuable assets, right? That wind moon, that 2, 3, 4, 5, 10x, right? And they're going to go buy a car, and that's awesome. But they're going to get themselves into a thing that they don't know how to tackle. It's not that you finance the car. That's not it. It's how you address paying off the car. It's not getting a mortgage. It's how you address the mortgage. Those are the things. And if you don't understand it, it's a problem. It's not the credit card. It's how you're addressing the credit card and the reality of the real interest rate and the reality of what they're really doing to you with interest. That's the issue, right? Credit cards used properly are awesome. It's just a line of credit. But you got to understand how to use it. Most people don't understand it. And we're going to change all that for sure. Person by person, family by family, couple by couple. We're going to change that. And then once you get it and you understand it, you twist the game. You turn the game upside down and you put it on their heads. Once you get it, right? You got to get it. So in any case, all right, fam, there it is. Appreciate you guys checking in tonight. It's been an awesome hang for sure. Do me a favor, hit that like button on the way out. That'd be really, really cool if you could do that. And if you happen to be in that 55% or so of people that are hanging out, listening to and watching the CryptoCeej, do me a favor. If you've been enjoying those hangouts, please consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you know whenever we go live or whenever we upload a video. I'm going to end this one like I do all my videos and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. But that's okay, though, because you and I, we're already winning. And I would ask you to consider this or perhaps ponder the idea or notion of living your life permissionless. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye.